Then I guess we got to start with that, right?
I left that one for last because I thought it was a perfect segue.
Might as well. Now, maybe Hackrad knows something we don't. If he hasn't stormed out and left. I noticed the intro said like Joe Matarese quits and then unquits or something like that. But I didn't see any of his videos back, and I looked at his Twitter, nothing yet. Has Joe Matarese put out any sort of statement on this? I'm wondering. If anyone has any answers in the chat, please let me know. But I was talking to Karl the other night, and I said, here's what happened in me and Karl's relationship. I saw Karl building sandcastles, and I said, hey, can we play together? And he said, sure, come on over here. And I said, all right, I'd like to build a sandcastle over here by myself as well. And Karl started saying, that's a pretty cool sandcastle you got, and then stood up and knocked it over. Because that son of a bitch, Joe Matarese, would have never acknowledged us. We were over here in our corner, and that son of a bitch had to start shining a light on this cocksucker.
If you go back to last week, we're like, yeah, I'm glad he's doing Joe Matarese too.
I didn't realize the repercussions that would happen.
He went too hard.
No, but as I said to Karl, this is Joe clearly not learning from his mistakes. The only success Joe has had in the last 10 years. So I'm discounting, like, he got on America's Got Talent and he was on Artie Lang's show. I'm not saying these are massive triumphs, but he did things. But in the last 10 years, the only success Joe Matarese had, and it might sound ironic, but I actually mean it because it was attention on him, were Red Bar and the Porcelain documentaries.
And that one Fixing Joe.
Well, it all stems from that, though, I think.
Yeah.
You know? And now I would say, like, I don't know what Red Bar's listeners are like, but I assume Karl is probably a bigger audience than Red Bar, I would think. Or at least similar. So, like, Joe sees that, like, hey, I've got attention, and he yet again runs and hides. Joe has deleted all the Joe Matarese podcasts from his channel. So now if you want to go back and see the 50 format flips, you won't be able to. It's not possible. He's gotten rid of all of them. He has not tweeted about it either, which is kind of an odd move.
Hold please.
Oh, please.
Karl actually just sent me a picture, and it's a post from Joe.
Oh.
And it says, I changed my mind. Hi,
Oh, this must be what Hackrad was referring to.
Yeah, it says, hi, everyone. After talking to Kevin Brennan on his MLC podcast today, I decided to come back on the air and just do my podcast once a week. Still live, but just once a week. It may be live during the daytime when my kids are in school. Stay tuned, and we will be live weekly. Joe.
Where and when is this from?
It says 17 hours ago.
Oh, really? Because I didn't see it on his Twitter for some reason.
And then 3 days.
Maybe I just missed it.
He said before that, he sent out this on his Patreon and says, I'm closing up shop. Have you gone over that before?
No.
Okay. So what I just read is the newest one.
Did he delete that, though? Because I didn't see it on his Twitter. It was just his dumb fucking clips.
These were both on Patreon.
Oh, okay. That's why. Okay. Gotcha. Good. Thank you, Karl.
So initially it said, hi, everyone. I truly appreciate you all for subscribing here and supporting my podcast. I decided after doing 28 episodes of the Joe Matarese show, it was just not my thing. Yes, it made me a little...
Wasn't your thing. You started it, asshole.
Like, this is so early on. Hold on.
Hey, guys, you know what? I realized the Blind Mike project, it's not really for me. I'm going to hand the reins over to Craig.
28 episodes? I didn't realize he even did that many.
Well, he didn't. He did a lot of, hey, in 2013, I talked to Bill Burr.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Yeah. So he did more like 20 or something, you know?
Yeah. Yes, it made me a little money, but I'm not really interested in the creative.
No, it didn't.
The creative. It probably made like $2 a show. If I'm like,
okay, a little money. All right. He's not lying.
Yeah. In the Patreon, maybe. I don't know. It didn't take the creative turn it took once I started doing it live. Even when I pre-recorded apps, it just had no direction and I didn't seem very good at it. All right. My personality isn't nearly big enough to survive in the 2024 podcast world. When I'm feeling boring while I'm talking, that's never a good sign. My heart is telling me to just concentrate on stand-up and keep writing and creating stand-up and stand-up content. Yes, I know people have told me that, but sometimes I just have to take a swing and figure it out on my own. Stopping my podcast really will
God.
open up a lot more of my time to write comedy, and most importantly, spend more quality time with my family.
Running for Senate, Joe.
I'm not sure what to do with my Patreon. I could add stand-up content here. I'm up for your suggestions since you all are donating to it.
Oh,
I may
stop it, Joe. Decide something.
I may just close this up as well. Please write me back to voice your opinions, but please don't try to convince me to podcast because that ship has sailed. I also deleted all the episodes from everywhere it existed.
I like that he's kind of begging us to beg him to stay. He's like, don't you dare ask me to podcast anymore, right, everyone? Right?
It's gone from existence. Talk to you all soon, and I hope to meet you in person one day at a show.
Oh, what a great hope.
I'm gonna read the first thing Karl sent me again.
Okay.
After all that, I changed my mind.
I forgot he was back. That's how long that was.
It was 2.5 days between posts.
Oh my God.
Hi everyone. After talking to Kevin Brennan on MLC podcast today, I decided to come back on the air and just do my podcast once a week. Still live, duh, but just once a week.
How could anyone make fun of this show?
I know.
Still live.
It was a comma. It made me think it was a period.
I understand.
I don't know. It may be live during the daytime when my kids are in school. Stay tuned for when it will be live weekly.
Good. I'm glad Joe's back. Joe, you know how many people probably unsubscribed? Well, I shouldn't say how many people, but like the percentage of people that are just like, oh, okay, well, before I get charged another $5 or whatever it is, I'll just unsubscribe. I will give Joe this credit. It is, and we've kind of always said this, but it's where he is different than John and Opie and Tom Myers. Is he has a hint of self-awareness might be the wrong word, because it's just him responding to criticism. So it's not him being self-aware, it's him being other people aware. I don't know what the phrase would be, but he's seeing criticism and reacting to that. But it is like John would never put out a statement like that. Like, hey, the show's not doing great. I don't think I'm a great podcaster. When in reality, Joe and John's skills at podcasting are not drastically different, you know?
Right.
Like they're more or less the same guy. On the spectrum of podcasters, I would say John is not massively more talented than Joe Matarese.
I don't think
Joe is able to say, like, hey, I kind of suck at this, you know?
Joe, yeah, I think he's better at it. I think he's better.
Well, John's more entertaining. Not for his own, not for
true
any skills of his.
Yeah.
But he's definitely more entertaining to watch. Like, I think just an average Joe Matarese episode is more boring. Joe talking by himself is more boring than John talking by himself, you know?
Yes. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. I get what you're saying now.
But this is also sent from Karl. You know, I joke about Karl. He did send me all the information we have about this, so I do appreciate that. But yeah, Karl sent me the one podcast that couldn't officially get deleted because Karl and his sleuths had the time to go find it. Ray DeVito was on. And some people say this was the beginning of the end, but I guess he did a podcast after this with someone named Carrie. I didn't catch that one. And then Karl also mentioned him doing something with his son, which that's a great idea. When you get trolled constantly, when your audience is exclusively people that make fun of you, bring your minor children on. That's a great idea, Joe. Yeah. Very smart.
Yeah.
But yeah, we have some clips of him and Ray DeVito where he acknowledges guys like Karl and us and Louis J. Gomez and all the people that have talked about him. Weirdly, I don't think his biggest problem is with Karl, which we'll see as we go along here, or us for that matter. But we'll get to that.
I saw like WATP likes to give you grief. They critiqued my Jim and Sam appearance, fucking Karl. But like Karl's a great dude, and like they'll come out to your shows, and they're not bad people. They're good people. You need to
see. Ray gets it.
Yes,
like for all his faults. Ray DeVito 100% gets it and is trying to say, and Ray's actually the perfect angel on Joe's shoulder here, where he's like, listen, Joe, we're not great stand-up comedians. You know,
Yeah.
we're not going to have the careers that Nate Bargatze has or John Mulaney. We just aren't those people. If you want people to come to your shows, you should kind of appreciate someone like Karl who's goofing on you, and maybe sometimes like not viciously, but like, you know, mean-spiritedly making fun of you. But if Joe goes on, Karl would have a good time. They would end up being friends. Joe would go to Rochester, play the Carlson, and be in Karl's basement. You know,
Joe can come on here too if he wants.
Yeah, I guess.
But one thing I want to say is just watch Ray's demeanor this whole time and Joe's, and just compare them.
Yeah, Joe has no interest. To be fair, the context of this is,
I
guess Ray gave out Joe's phone number by accident.
That's very funny.
So that is why they're meeting. So I think Joe does have some reason to be a little sour. But
Yeah.
ATP and give Karl a piece of your mind.
Well,
go have fun with Karl.
It seems like there's a couple of different podcasts now that critique other podcasts. They're the bigger one. I think there's a real small one.
Hey! I don't know about real small.
Don't worry, Mike. He's gonna pretend not to have ever heard of this show in a few minutes.
No, I know, but real small seems like a stretch, right?
Come on, Joe.
Medium to low medium.
I'd say medium. We're in the top 1% of podcasts as a whole.
Come on.
That's for sure.
Small. Yeah. So evidently, I thought other people started talking about Joe, but I'm assuming he means Karl and then us, right? It would have to be.
I assume so. Yeah.
That's when I know they're a small one, when they only critique my podcast. Like they're not doing all the podcasts.
Making good points right now.
Why are you doing mine?
I don't think so, actually.
I don't have a lot of listeners. So like there's no way for you to be successful being a just Joe Matarese critiquer. You know, like that.
Maybe
here's the thing.
Maybe he's not talking about this show.
Nailed us.
Oh, maybe he saw like Hack Ride's clips when they post the segment possibly.
I don't think there's a single program on the planet that has devoted themselves to only talking about Joe Matarese.
That's true.
You know, I think it's the same type of shit he said about Red Bar at the start of all that, where he's like, he's devoted his whole. This is where he is similar to John and Opie, where he's like, they've devoted their whole life to talking about me. They must be real losers. Like, no, Joe, if you went away tomorrow, I wouldn't notice, really. And you did go away, and I didn't notice. I didn't know all the shit until 10 minutes ago that you quit like a baby, and then you were like, actually, guys, just joking. I'm back. Because you saw 3 people talk about it online. Stop letting everyone dictate your life, Joe, you loser.
What did I say to you right as we started today?
What's that?
When we were talking about this, I'm like, oh yeah, did he take that episode down because we had it in the drive? And you're like, he took them all down. I had no idea.
Oh yeah, no, we wouldn't have noticed. Like I may not have even talked about Joe because I saw that he had Ray DeVito on.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember earlier in the week, I was like, oh, we'll have to get to that at some point. But if it wasn't for Karl mentioning it to me, I may have not even really noticed Joe was off the internet. Like that's where Joe does have the same delusion as a lot of the other people we cover, because he thinks it's all about him in a weird way. And it's not, Joe. Like, we like, excuse me, we like talking comedy and talking about people that embarrass themselves on the internet. You know, we'll find other people to fill that void if, God forbid, you leave us. But that's where Joe's a little arrogant, as he thinks like he's better than that. And it's like, Joe, look at the guest you're having on. You have Ray DeVito on, essentially because Karl told you through osmosis. You know,
Right.
like the only reason that Ray DeVito's on that podcast is because WATP started covering Joe. And the only reason Joe's on Kevin Brennan's show is because he's a lolcow. Like he's someone that Kevin thought, oh, maybe I can poke fun at this idiot. So don't be above this world, Joe. You are in it. You know, stop thinking that you're above that. That's your biggest problem more than anything. I would say second is that you're not particularly talented, and you think putting hashtag Italian in your posts is going to make your career explode. Like you're kind of a delusional guy, but you're in this world, so accept it.
Being a just Joe Matarese critiquer, You know, like that.
Well, here's
that
the thing. I think part of it is if they do that, they don't actually hate you. I think it's just like they know you're someone to have
I'm
fun.
starting to.
A lot of people will say stuff about me, but it's like, I mean, some people are just jerks and
Hack red.
they're like just assholes. But then there's other people that like actually like do it out of love. Like they'll say like the meanest things.
This is where Ray is rationalizing his own existence. But like Ray has the right attitude where he's like, and you know, I think Ray got a bunch of views on his stand-up special on YouTube.
Yeah.
So it's like he is right. It's like embrace that shit. And then the people that do find you funny and want to go see your shows, they'll do that. Maybe some of them will be laughing behind your back, but it's like the same thing I say about Brendan Schaub is like, we went and had a good time at the Brendan Schaub show. Now, why the fact that we might leave and make jokes about it affects Brendan Schaub's attitude is beyond me. But that stuff seems to really bother him. He wants to be respected. And that's where Joe gets mixed up. It's like I said earlier about the show that Hackride wants us to talk about, where it's like, if I was like, how dare you poke fun at this program, then I'm as bad as all of these people. I don't realize that there's obviously stuff to make fun of, you know? So that's what I really have started to hate about Joe, is I kind of thought he was a guy that maybe had a little awareness and was starting to embrace the mocking, but he doesn't think there's anything that he should be mocked for, which is bizarre to me.
That's a fact. And next we have him talking about Luis J. Gomez.
This is the weird one. More obviously he thinks we're a small podcast that only cover him, so he doesn't even think about us. But he says, you know, WATP doesn't really bother him. Oddly, the guy that bothers him most is Luis J. Gomez. Remember the clip we played a couple months ago?
Yep.
I thought Luis was pretty like he was fucking around the way comics do. But he kept saying, like, I don't want to shit on Joe Matarese. He's a nice guy. He even said he's a good comic.
Yeah, he was saying, I don't want to shit on him. He's a nice guy. And then going to Chris Scopo, like, you're going to murder your career.
Yeah, why are you on that podcast?
Yeah, so I mean, like,
but he was funny about it, you know?
He was, but if you were Joe, I could see why you were like, God damn.
But that, again, I would have him on if it bothered me that much about it.
True.
You know? Like, why not invite Luis on or go, well, we'll hear what Joe says.
What do you think? I promise you, Luis J. Gomez does not hate you. I promise you. I heard that when you were on MLC.
He's correct.
You said you think Luis J. Gomez does not like you. I do not believe
I'm
that's
only
true.
saying that because that was his exact word. It's not like I'm not going, oh, I think
it's not true, though.
Was
This
it
is where Joe's being a little bitch. Luis didn't go on and say, I don't like Joe Matarese. Quite the opposite. He's like, I don't want to shit on this guy. I like him. He's a good comic. He sucks at podcasting and he's become a joke. But that doesn't mean I hate you. This is way more than John. This is Opie. This is where Opie is always, if you say one cross word about the guy, it's like, oh, that guy hates me. And that's just not true. That's not the nature of the internet. You know, you can't take everything at face value. And believe me, I've struggled with that over the years, where I would take every tweet and be like, I need to convince this guy he's wrong, that he should like me. And that's misguided thinking. The difference was I was, 29 years old, and Joe has been in the business for 35 years.
Right.
So at some point you got to say, well, this guy's never going to learn.
No, he said it multiple times, and he tells people not to go on my podcast because he tells them it's a big waste of time, which it is. But in this format, it's not as much as a waste of time. So that's why you're on.
Yeah, he's kind of shitty to Ray DeVito.
He's so shitty to him this entire time, and we have a clip of it being it. It actually made me mad. We'll get to it.
Oh, is that the next clip?
No.
Oh, okay.
I don't think so.
What do we got?
Let's take. We come up.
Okay, so this is what he just said. It's Karl and some other podcast that clearly he's watched.
Mm-hmm.
It would have to be. I don't know. Maybe Tukey or Cardiff or one of those guys started talking about him. That's also possible.
It is possible.
So I just don't know. But I would assume he's got to be talking about us here, there. But this is where Ray DeVito brings me up, and this, I gotta say, this gay blind mic is ruining my SEO.
I know.
People aren't gonna know who the fuck I am.
Super chat.
Northwest
Ken. Go on, Blind Mike Project. What's that?
Northwest Ken.
I want to say now there's two blind mics. There's one blind mic.
Okay,
Ray
right.
made himself. Ray liked that one. Ray was proud of himself.
He was a big fan of that.
There's one blind mic that's on WATP, and then there's another blind mic who's at gas.
I don't think I am on WATP. I haven't been on in months. I think I've been banned from that program.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
When's the last time I was on?
David Collins in the chat said, "This is terrible news about Joe."
Well, David, don't worry. He's back, I guess. So
Yes.
cheer up.
I don't know which one is that, but Northwest Ken watches Skanks. I'm going to stop in for the end of Skanks. For something. I'm
This
not
is where Ray just turns it into a conversation about himself.
So if I get back from the comic strip in time, I'll
He trails off.
Joe-
Well, thank you, Northwest Ken, at least, for saying go to the Blind Mike Project. And somehow Ray answered, I'm actually supposed to do Legion of Skanks later. It's like, well, that had nothing to do with anything. But
Well, Ray probably doesn't like us either because Hackride took a shit ton of shots at him when he first came over here.
But again, you can't get so obsessed as like this person made fun of me. You know?
I don't think he does.
I don't think Ray does.
No.
I don't know though. But that's the thing is like I don't know. Maybe Hackride does hate Ray DeVito, but like
He
they're
does.
they're fucking jokes.
Judging by the chat.
He's fucking around. Oh, is
Um,
Hackride going off?
Yeah. He says he hates him cosplaying as Mark Normand. Which is pretty funny.
That's a good comparison.
That's a good joke, Hackride.
Two blind mice.
So one of the next, we have two clips left. One of these is the one I'm talking about. I don't know exactly which one, but this is Joe talking
Good to
about
keep teasing it then.
tricking. It's infuriating. But this is tricking the audience.
Oh yeah. This is where Joe you'll never be successful. I don't think in any, I was going to say in like comedy or podcast or anything. I assume in any field, I don't think you'll be successful by selling people a false product. Doesn't seem like a good idea, but that's what Joe is trying to do. He's trying to trick people into, giving him views and money.
Thing going on. You got to come and see my my Italian shows. Now I'm doing them even in synagogues. I'm doing my Italian show in a synagogue.
What a sentence.
there you go. What made you do the Italian thing?
Well, I did my show in Cherry Hill at a different synagogue, but it was like a JCC, like a huge one, 500 seater, and
Whoa.
we sold about 325 tickets, which was
Better than
in a
Shop.
normal show. That's good,
Mm-hmm.
but it sat 500. So I wanted to get the 500, and it made me.
Why is it in a synagogue?
Um,
Hey, my mother makes a hell of a Sunday gravy. Just a sea of yarmulkes in the audience. What the fuck is he talking about?
He's like, hey, I'm gonna catch a cold over here.
Yeah, so he's like, listen to this brilliant game plan where he's like, listen, they got Jews built into the audience. Now, if I can bring some Italians in, we got a perfect listen, De Niro was played both. People barely even notice.
It's true.
Get the 500, and it made me realize, maybe it's hard to get non-Jewish people to go to a Jewish event, even though it's comedy. So I had thought,
You think, Joe? You think maybe there's a reason that there are comedy clubs and synagogues instead of just having them all in one place? You think there's a reason, Laugh Boston or Comedy on State or fucking The Mothership aren't like, yeah, and on Saturdays we have Jewish Mass.
I don't want Luis J. Gomez to make fun of me anymore. Anyways, this weekend I'm at a synagogue.
This weekend I'm performing a bris, but I'm going to work in some jokes. Let's break matzah this Saturday.
A lot of people though. 300's pretty good.
It was a good turnout. It was a good turnout. We all
Only he could be pissed that many people came to see him.
It was a good turnout. Everyone was wildly confused. The word Meshuggah was getting yelled at me for some reason, but
made money. It was a good turnout. But this next one is a big venue also. So I said, you know, because what was missing in that last show was me
mosque
and a lot of my fan base. It was mostly the JCC's members that were there, and then some of my people, but not a lot. I didn't double what their people were, or I would have sold it out. So I was like, okay, I need to.
You know what Joe should have done if he's trying to trick people into going to his shows? Say not that he's an Italian comedian, that he's a Palestinian comedian. It's like, hey, you guys might want to see this. It's going to be explosive.
Yeah.
Marketing, and you do your own marketing. So it's hilarious. So they're like not even mentioning the Italian thing. And then I'm marketing it on my end with the Italian thing. And it's just going to be an exact mix of Jewish and Italian. So
it's going to be a mix of an audience is what we call it, Joe.
Yeah, and also not an exact mix of Jewish and Italian. It's going to be a lot of Jews that are going to their synagogue because they think they're having comedy night, and 3 guineas that you brought along with you.
I don't know why he's obsessed with the Italian thing.
Because he saw once that it worked, and he sees, like, Sebastian Maniscalco's career and says, like, hey, a lot of Italian families go to see Sebastian. He doesn't realize that, like, Sebastian, whether you like him or not, has talent and charisma. He doesn't understand that the other thing, you can't just hashtag Italian in a post. Oh, there was one, me and Karl were talking about Joe's hashtags the other day, and I will say, you know, sometimes you gotta hashtag comedy or stand up in your posts, especially when you're someone like Joe, where people wouldn't necessarily know what it was if he didn't label it that way. But in one of he must have had a bit about Jewish people or something.
Mm-hmm.
One of the hashtags was Jews.
That's funny.
Hashtag Jews.
That's funny.
It's funny. I don't think he meant it to be, but
this is the last clip. This is a terrible idea.
It's just so Ray, I guess, did a ghost roast of Stuttering John, and it was pretty rough. It seems like the only thing that made it funny was like Tukey went on and started shitting on Ray, basically.
Mm-hmm.
But the premise was Ray wanted to roast John. John didn't show up, so Ray still did the jokes. So it's like with that context, that's fine. I understand why he did it. But now Joe has this abysmal idea, and evidently he hates Luis J. Gomez so much now that this is his plan of attack to get back at him. The name Joe Matarese was organically mentioned on Lewis's podcast, and Lewis made a couple jokes. So in order to clap back at the rattlesnake, this is Joe's idea.
I'm saying let's roast somebody, but not invite them on purpose.
Oh no, I invited him.
I see what they're saying now that you're saying you're stupid.
You're
fucking pissed me off. Hey, Joe, maybe the idea was so terrible that Ray couldn't possibly fathom that you meant I'm just going to read jokes to nobody at the expense of Luis J. Gomez.
Yeah.
Even Ray couldn't wrap his mind around an idea that bad. He was trying to give you the benefit of the doubt. He was giving you an out by saying, like, oh, no, I wasn't dumb enough to not want Stuttering John there. I wasn't that much of a scared loser, because Joe knows that if he did something with Lewis, Lewis is just funnier and more interesting and has a bigger audience than him, so it wouldn't go well for Joe.
If I invite Lewis, he's going to get to respond.
Yeah, they should have it in a synagogue, Lewis versus Joe.
Yeah, you can pray that Lewis doesn't decimate you when it's his turn.
Yeah. Well, unfortunately for the synagogue, it will all be slurs, so
that's true.
I don't know if they'd want it there, but
I'm saying let's roast somebody, but not invite them on purpose.
Oh no, I invited him.
No,
invited
you.
Stein.
I see what they're saying now that you're saying
Yeah.
you're stupid. You're not.
Like Joe's above Ray.
Well, that's what pissed me off.
Yeah.
It's like people can call Ray stupid, but they're typically like his friends and talk to him all the time.
Yeah, and it's like if Ray were on here, I might make a joke similar to that, but just the tone that Joe uses, where he's looking
Right.
down at Ray. You know?
Right. That pissed me off.
It's like, why invite him on? And that was the shittiest thing. That's where we started to turn against Joe when he was talking about like Mike Racine and Jordan Jensen. Like, I just can't motivate myself to be interested in these people. By the way, this Ray DeVito interview was after that. But
Correct.
still, he's like, I can't find any interest in these comedians that are more successful than me at a much younger age.
Right.
I'm trying to tell you, I want to roast somebody. Like, say I want to roast Luis Gomez or something like that.
Okay, all
but
right.
not invite him, and we just roast him.
I like the idea.
Just do it then.
One, just do it, and two, I hope Lewis has like that night off and finds his way to the show.
That's the thing is like, Joe's picking the wrong guy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, Lewis is one guy that will respond to all of this stuff.
For about a week straight, too.
Yeah, he's willing to get in the mud, you know?
Yeah.
If you had an issue with someone, well, I don't know, fucking Bert Kreischer, well, Bert would probably respond to it too. I'm trying to think of a better example. But
Tom Segura.
yeah, Segura wouldn't respond to this shit. Lewis certainly will. He's willing to get in the mud with you, and he'll be much meaner than you, Joe. What are you possibly gonna say about Lewis? That's where Joe doesn't think these things through. Like, oh, are you gonna slam the fact that his parents are dead? That's never been done. You're gonna call him an edgelord, Joe? Like, what unique perspective can you bring to the table? The answer is none, but Joe never realizes that.
And we have we have all our comedian friends on, and we roast him without.
I think they would all be like, "Why isn't Lewis here?"
I think they would all invite him.
Yeah. Hey, pretty weird that we're talking about a guy who's not here.
Hey, Big J, I got a favor to ask. Can you come out to my show and not tell Lewis?
there because he was a dick to me. Like, just be kind of fun to do that.
That would be it. But all right, I would do that. And
Hackride makes an amazing point. Lewis got into the mud with him. Like,
Oh yeah.
like,
Yeah, Lewis is considers himself above nothing, which is a lesson maybe Joe should learn.
yeah. That's a great point from Hackride. It was like a day and a half where he was just going at it with him.
Yeah.
I would do that with you, or at least host it while you do that, because you're the one that has the beef with him. But as a friend of J. Gomez, I would let him know, and I think he would have fun with it.
Sure,
they were covered on
I'm not
scams.
saying that, I'm not a mean guy. So, but
Well, then buckle up, Joe.
You better figure out how to be.
You're dealing with a mean man.
Yeah.
Now, I gotta say, Louis J. Gomez is also a great man. I think the defining moment to me of Louis J. Gomez for me is when I was at Skankfest this year, and I had two ladies I was chatting with. One was my girlfriend. He doesn't know that, and a female friend of mine. But I'm talking to them, and Louis comes up to me. Now, keep in mind, this guy doesn't know anything I've been doing.
Blind
He doesn't
Mike.
watch this
Blind
show.
Mike, who used to work for
There you go.
Barstool. Blind Mike.
Louis, enough, Louis,
Like
enough.
Gary's
Thank you.
podcast. Blind Mike.
Stop it. But he comes up to me and goes, "Hey, Mike, love the stuff you've been doing," and walks away. He doesn't know what the fuck I've been doing. He was just trying to, he was helping a guy out.
Right.
He was like, "I'm going to make this guy look cool in front of whoever these girls are that he's talking to."
Yeah, he's the man.
That to me is Louis J. Gomez. Like, that's just a good man right there. But like, if you fuck with him, he's going to respond, Joe. So just know that when you say like, "Hey, I'm not a mean guy," what you're doing is much meaner. You're saying, "I want all of Lewis's friends to come and mock him without him knowing."
Right.
You're not a mean guy. You actually kind of are a mean guy, whereas Lewis is a funny guy. You know?
Right.
That's what you don't understand, Joe. Is there's a different I can't fathom how Joe came up with Artie Lang. Same with Stuttering John, actually, now that I think about it. How are you that close to that guy in particular? One of the best ball busters in radio history. And you don't get it still. Like, that is what I can't wrap my head around, is the idea that you're close enough to Cumia, Jim Norton, and Artie to invite them on a show. And then when they start making fun of you, be like, whoa, what is this?
Easy, guys.
Whoa, I didn't expect this from you three. I thought you would give me some therapy.
I thought you were gonna actually take it serious.
That's
Dang
where
Lizard,
Joe- yeah.
€2. Isn't Blind Mike Project 4 Kids your second channel? Question mark.
Wait a second. Craig,
I
what
didn't.
have you started?
I didn't start shit.
Hi, gang. It's like on who are these socials? We talk about that queer kids stuff.
Yep.
That's what Craig does.
Nope.
It's like, hey, gang, here's what a penis is.
Echo Burrow, $5. Joe feels like he's going to live stream his trip to Greenland, then have it auto deleted 2 days later after 12 views.
I don't know what that means.
Me either. Dennis in East Boston, $2. Coleman or Justin in the weight loss challenge?
I think if Justin is devoted to it, which I assume he is, I think he's going to win easy. For two reasons. He has more weight to lose, and I think Coleman will just eat a little healthier and work out a little more, whereas I think Justin will starve himself for the next
Well, if Justin
100
does,
days.
if Justin does strict keto, he'll lose 40 or 50 pounds in that 100 days, easy.
Yeah, I think Justin could, between his demeanor and the amount of weight he can lose,
Yeah,
I think he should easily drop 50 pounds.
exactly.
We'll see.
Dang Lizard, €5. Have you told Karl that roasting people that aren't there is a terrible idea and he'll never find the audience for that?
Well, you know what I mean. I mean like an actual roast where it's like, but seriously, we love you. It just doesn't make any sense. But that's true. I suppose he does call WATP a roast. But I just mean in the actual format of a roast where you have a dais.
Hacko Burrow in the chat says trip to Greenland means suicide. I've never heard that.
Oh, I didn't know that.
I kind of like that. It's nice.
Yeah.
He's gonna delete it because it got 12 views. That's pretty funny, actually. Reading back now. But let's finish this clip here.
Really mean jokes because I've done some roasts before, and it's weird when you're not a mean person and you go really mean. You're like uncomfortable. You can't. It's like you're having trouble saying.
Oh, I'm just such a nice guy. I can't even fathom what it would be like to be mean for a second.
Yeah, he's like, I'm such a nice guy. Ray inhales and he's like, pipe down, retard.
I'm so nice that I can't even imagine being mean to someone. Anyways, wouldn't it be cool to invite this guy's friends to something where we eviscerate him and exclude him? Anyways, I'm not a mean guy.
When it's his turn to respond, I'm gonna hide under a rock.
Hey, Ray, I'm starting to get what people mean about you being dumb. Anyways, I'm not mean. I don't like having Jordan Jensen and Mike Racine on my podcast because I view them as below me. But anyways, I'm super nice.
Port Film Co-op, $2. Blind Mike has a girlfriend. Rubs salt in the audience wounds.
You guys have been coveting me for all this time? I didn't know.
It's very funny.
And you go really mean. You're like uncomfortable. You can't. It's like you're having trouble saying it. But at least him, he was kind of a dick to me, so it would be a little easier to do
I'll let
research
him know tonight.
on him.
I'll let him know tonight. You want me?
No,
to,
I don't know. I don't know.
No.
Go back. I just think it would be really funny to absolutely destroy this guy.
Well, I can tell him tonight if you want.
Great. I'll let him know.
Shush.
Don't, maybe he can find out after we already did it. Don't.
Maybe show him when it's all done.
I gotta hear that again. Listen how scared he is.
Go really mean. You're like uncomfortable. You can't. It's like you're having trouble saying it. But at least him, he was kind of a dick to me, so it would be a little easier to do
I'll
research
let him know tonight.
on him.
I'll let him know tonight. You want me?
No,
to,
I don't know. I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't know about that.
That reminds me of when me and the Be a Man guy Harmon were hanging out with Shane Gillis, and Harmon said, "Hey Shane, who's got a major podcast? Who's doing great on Patreon?" talking to literally the biggest Patreon in the world.
Matt and Shane Secret Podcast has eclipsed 100,000 Patreon subscribers.
It's no longer, we couldn't have think of a more outrageous example on Patreon anymore. Like, they are the biggest.
Yes.
And Harmon's like, you know who's crushing it on Patreon? And I was like, "Da, da, 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 da." I know I said I was doing well, but you know, that's not get crazy.
1%.
Less than 1%.
Less than 1%.
Well, let me hear that one more time. How the fear in Joe's voice. Ray's like, "Oh, awesome! Sounds like you're really confident about the idea. Let me tell the rattlesnake.
I'll be with him tonight.
Hey, we can get this done in hours."
You want to set up the stream?
To do
I'll let him know
research
tonight.
on him.
I'll let him know tonight. You want me?
No,
to,
I don't know. I don't know if I.
Ah,
I don't know
You
the
should
point.
do it. It'll be fun.
I don't know if I definitely want to do it. I don't know the point, is what he actually says there.
I don't know the point. How about everything you just laid out, Joe? It seemed like you had a good idea.
It seemed like you knew the point.
Oh yeah, no, I don't want to do it if he's gonna know about it. I'm a super nice guy. I'd rather do it behind his back without anyone ever letting him know it exists.
I wish if Ray just grabbed his phone and called him while this was recording.
Ray just not getting. He's like, "Oh no, Joe, no problem. Let's get him on the horn right now."
You see, you just hear Ray go like, "Call Louis J. Gomez," and Joe's like,
No. It's you know what? It's fine actually. I was thinking maybe Lewis could roast me is what I meant because I'm so dumb. I'm a big loser. You know, that's what I meant.
he could just have his way with me.
Oh, yeah. But that's the thing that Matarese doesn't understand is like, play along with Lewis. You'll be at Skankfest, you know?
Right.
And there, you don't have to be a laughingstock. Like, they'll just let you do stand up in one of the rooms and you can have a lovely time, you know?
You know, they would come to Joe and be like, "How about we do the roast of Joe Matarese at Skankfest? You'll get this much money." But it could be like the most money he's ever seen from a gig.
Well, here's where Lewis is actually above that stuff at times.
Mhm.
Where like he'll make fun of Opie and Stuttering John and Jump, like he's aware of that world,
Mhm.
but then is like, I don't feel like making my show about that.
Oh no, I'm not saying.
Whereas Big J would. When I was on
Yeah.
Point Double Point, and Big J was in the chat.
Was he?
Yeah.
Well, he's a huge Stern fan.
Yeah. And so he's into the Dabbleverse, I guess. But Lewis is like, yeah, I don't want to make the whole show. So I don't think he would do something like the roast of Joe Matarese.
I'm not saying he necessarily would, but I'm saying if he did and went to Joe with it and said, "This is gonna be the most money you've ever seen from a gig," Joe's ego would be like, "I can't."
Yeah, Joe wouldn't do it.
Right.
Or he would do it for the money and then pout his way through it.
Right.
Where it would be like Michael Scott. You know, he gets up and is like, "Boy, I didn't realize you guys were going to go after me like that," you know?
Yeah. He would get up there to do like, you know, how whoever gets roasted gets the last word.
Yeah.
He would just go up there and just start whining. Just be like, "Guys, I thought we were friends, and then you said this about me."
Lewis said he wasn't going to be that mean, but I guess, no, I guess I'm not funny.
You know, what would be the funniest thing though is if the feed cut right as Joe is about to talk. That would be very funny.
Yeah, no, didn't you say, Joe, it'd be funny to roast someone who wasn't there? Joe's terrible ideas. But that's good news. So the podcast is back.
Yeah, let me look.
We only had to live in that darkness for. No, I looked this morning. There's no episodes up.
Maybe he's just starting over.
That's also wild.
Knowing him, he probably deleted them. He didn't just hide them.
He is such a reactionary girl that he was like, delete forever.
Let's see. Videos. Yeah, no, they're all gone.
That was such a
They're all
those
gone.
posts, that first post where he's like, "I'm done," was such a long explanation that to follow that up 2 days later with actually I've reconsidered, I'm back, is so bipolar, like, and legitimately crazy. Like Joe thinks it's interesting to talk about his medications. He should be talking about that with a doctor because the man is not prescribed correctly. Now, Karl said something interesting that I never heard before, that people in that circle of comedians thought Joe was going to be like a big deal at one point.
I thought so.
Like he had a good career going, and that the speculation is once he got on all that medication suggested by his wife, that bye-bye. Bye-bye Funny Joe. It just evaporated, I guess.
Right. Do you want to? I just went to check. All the videos are gone, but he's got a 1-minute stand-up video pinned. If you want to.
What's it titled? Because we might have watched it the other night.
Oh, rich husbands versus non-rich husbands.
Oh, I don't think so.
Let's take a look.
Let's give it a whirl.
And this guy makes so much money that he can come up with spur of the moment ideas and get away with it, right? I'm over his house this past football season, Philadelphia, 5 of 1 on a Sunday. He just looks at his watch. He goes, shit, Joe, game's starting in about 5 minutes. What do you want to do for the games? I'm like, I don't know. We could go in your home theater, watch them on your 8-foot 3D IMAX. That'd be fun. He just looks at me and goes, dude, screw it. Let's just go to the game. I'm like, what? He goes, yeah, we could be there in 25 minutes. My company has its own private box. We'll eat for free. We'll drink for free. It'll be unbelievable. Honey, Joe and I are going to the game, all right? Yeah, watch the kids while we're gone, and we come back, have an amazing dinner ready for us. We'll be starving. See ya.
This is rough.
Walks out the front door. Now I'm standing there in front of my wife like, am I allowed to go with him?
You know what? That wasn't a terrible punch. I was like, Jesus Christ, this is endless.
That was
That
pretty.
wasn't a
funny.
terrible punchline.
That was pretty funny. I've
That
always
wasn't
pretty
terrible.
much enjoyed his stand-up.
I've never enjoyed it, but it's certainly better than his podcast. Like, that's not even debatable. I don't.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty funny.
But that's always been the thing on Joe, where people say like he's just a bad podcaster. Why he continues to attempt it? Like, keep attempting it if you're going to accept that you're bad on it. Here's the problem with Joe, is he says things like, listen, I know I'm a bad podcaster. Terrific. That's a little self-awareness there. Either stop podcasting or be a purposely bad podcaster. Be a
Right.
guy like Kevin Brennan and Stuttering John that just reads super chats from people that hate you. You know, like, do that or don't do it at all. Because you can't keep doing something where you're like, I suck at this, but maybe in my 15th year doing it, at age 56, suddenly, magically, through no effort or ability, I'm just going to become better at this. Like, that's a wild mindset to have.
John's mom craves man goo for $5.
I don't know if that's true, by the way.
I'm just reading the name. That's
I
not
understand. Yeah. Oh, that's his Christian name. I see.
Yeah. Blind Mike equals most underrated podcast in the Dabbleverse.
Well, thank you, buddy. That's very kind of you to say.
Oh, sweet.
All right, so that's about enough of Joe. That's as much Joe as I can take for one day. Real quick, I did want to talk about this.